Hey everyone, this is D.W. Daniel White, and welcome to the Doctor's Clinic Call. And we're a little bit excited about the topic tonight, and jumping into it, we're going to get into, can you live longer, or how would you like to live forever? And we're basically in charge of a lot of things, and putting ourselves in a position to live as long as possible is kind of in our hands. But I'm not going to spoil all the good information, and we're going to flip right into Dr. Kirk Fisnick. Are you with me, brother?
Hey, I'm here, DW. Can you hear me?
Man, I can hear you, and it sounds like you guys you're having some summertime right there in the season, and just having great weather there, which makes people happy, and happiness helps people live a little bit longer as well. But this is a topic I've heard you talk about a lot, but not in detail. So I'm excited about some of the detail and some of the notes that I've written here, and some of the questions that we have. And so just, you've said it many times, even on the Wake Up with Sisel call, have you ever thought about living forever? And, of course, a lot of people just think about death and dying. They don't think about living in life necessarily. And so I just love that thought-provoking question to start with. So Dr. Kirk Fisnick, welcome to the call tonight, and we're just anxious to hear from you, so just jump right on in, brother.
Hey, DW, thanks for having me. And I sure appreciate you doing this call. I posted on Facebook today. I mean, you really do a great job, and if you had a radio talk show, I'd love to be your guest. But if you take a look at my business card, it's pretty simple. It's white paper. On one side it says, "Have you ever thought about living forever?" And then on the other side it just says Doc Fizz, and then it has my phone number, and that's my business card. And the whole idea is I use that as a tool for those of you that are familiar with building network marketing as a business. You want to have tools, and reason I use that is I can lay that out anywhere, and people say, "Oh, do you have?" And they look at it and they look kind of weird at me, like, "Have you ever thought about living forever?" And a lot of people, right away they think that you're asking them, do you want to live forever? And so they start answering that question without me ever asking it. And I just kind of chuckle a little bit, and I'll say, well, no, I really didn't ask you if you wanted to live forever, and I didn't ask you what your reasons why you wouldn't want to live forever, but you did answer my question, and my question is, have you ever thought about it? And everybody's thought about it. Everybody's thought about it. And if they tell you no, really when you start questioning them, they say, well, yeah, I've thought about it. But, DW, it's interesting. We're all adults on the phone and we're so busy. Everybody is so busy. There's not a single person that you could talk to that says, oh, I don't have anything to do. And we're so busy. And a lot of people are sick. I would say probably 70% or better of any adult, if you asked them, do you have any health concerns? And their answer is going to be yes. And they're so concerned with the current status of their health, their current state of where they are, they don't have time to think about living forever because they're too busy trying to think of how do I stay alive today. And that's what I get into a conversation with people with, and DW, it's just crazy what the answers are. Today I drove. Yesterday afternoon. Let me back up. Yesterday afternoon I drove to Minneapolis. I spent the night here with my brother and his family in Minneapolis, and then today I drove out into Wisconsin. And I left early this morning, and I headed to Wisconsin. I treated a 95-year-old patient there, and he's been a client of mine for a number of years. And he and I were talking today. Back in the 50s, when he got back from World War II, he started getting into natural health, and he was a runner. He liked to run, and he was telling me today. He said that back around 1963 or 64, he was meeting a group of friends of his for lunch, and they had all got to the country club before he did. And when he comes walking in, they said, "Oh, there's Mr. Free Radical," right? And we kind of chuckled a little bit, and I said, what are those guys up to today? And he said, well, they're all dead. And Jerry is doing quite well, and I mean, for 95, And I just thought, you know what? I mean, the guy really, he started getting into it. And that's what all of us have to start thinking about is what can we do today to make it so that in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, whatever it happens to be, we can really be thinking about, you know, you can't live forever, and that's kind of a funny thing. You can't live forever, but, you know, when you think about it, DW, when you were 20, didn't you think people who were 50, didn't you think they were old?
I sure did, man.
Right? And when you were, and I don't know how old you are, but when you got to be 40, you started looking at people who were 70. You thought, man, that's old, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I ask people, you know, as a doctor, I'll ask them. I'll say, well, DW, you know, that back pain that you got, you know, I know that you have a couple of grandkids there. You got, you know, 4 of them now, right? And as a grandpa, isn't it important that you are able to get down on the floor and play with those grandkids?
Absolutely, man.
Right? And that's important to you. And wouldn't it be nice that when you're 60 or 70 years old, you could still do that? And I say, you know, because most people, when you ask them the question, you say, hey, DW, you know, really, how old do you feel today? That back pain that you got, that neck pain, the shoulder pain, that knee pain, how old does it make you feel? And a lot of 45-year-olds will tell me they feel like they're 70. And I just ask them, I say, well, if it makes you feel like you're 70 now and you're only 45, what in the heck are you going to feel like when you really are 70? And we make them think about that. I make people think about that because, you know, now I can say, let's get serious. Let's figure out what do you really need to do. And DW, if you could live forever, what are the things you need? Without getting into religious stuff, but what are the things that you need if you wanted to live forever? Did I lose you?
Look right here. You know, you get into some of the things that you need. I mean, my goodness, probably my first response would be you need your health.
Exactly, right? I mean, because who wants to be 100 years old, but they got to be pushed around in a wheelchair? You know, who wants to be 105 years old? And by the way, my client, his friend is 103, and that, you know, one of his friends, and so. But when you think about that, who wants to be 103 and confined to a bed? You know, when I'm 110, and DW, that's the goal that I have set for myself. I want to be 110 years old. At 110, you know what? I want to be traveling. I want to see the world. And at 110, I don't want somebody pushing me around. I want to be walking on my own 2 feet. And so you really need your health. You need to be taking care of your health, and I used to always tell my patients in my clinic, I say, you know, if the alternator goes bad on my car, I can always throw a new alternator on there. If my refrigerator goes bad, I can buy a new one. But if you wear out your body, where are you going to live? And so you really need to start thinking about that, right?
Good question.
And so what else do you need? If you got your health, then what, DW?
Probably, you know, I'm just going to sound like a crazy answer, even though it's a little bit of a health call, but if I would want a dream or goal or you know, a purpose or passion to be living and to run to that age.
Yeah. And in order to travel and to live your passion and to help other people, you need money, right?
Need some cash flow, yes, sir.
Yeah, you really do, and this is a doctor's call and things like that, but we really have to address that because of the fact that, you know what, if you're healthy but you don't have any money, guess what? You're still confined to that wheelchair. It might not be a wheelchair, it might be a recliner because you don't have any money to go anywhere. You're sitting there in your house or your apartment or whatever, your condo, and you know, you don't have the money. So I always tell people, you need your health, and you need some money. And I throw this out there to people. I mean, and it kind of makes people chuckle a little bit. But think about it. You know, if you get sick, your church throws you a fundraiser. Your friends all donate. Everybody throws something in there. The bank, you know, throws a little cash in there for you. Everybody's willing to help you out when you're sick. But, you know, even your insurance company kicks in when you're sick. But nobody has a program. If DW went and tomorrow he said, yeah, I'm gonna throw a fundraiser for myself. You guys, you know, I want you to chip in for this thing. I'm gonna throw a fundraiser because I want to live forever. Right? What's gonna get thrown in your donation cup, DW?
Well, if you're going to do a donation cup for living forever, probably people would throw in the thing, you're crazy.
They throw in the comment, you're crazy. That's exactly it. They're not going to give you a dime because they think you're nuts. They might send you to the funny farm is what they'll do. And that's where we can really start having some fun with this. And so what I like is I really like working with older people. They're some of the clients that I really like working with because my passion is to live to be 110 years old. I want to have enough money put away that I can travel the world. If I meet somebody that needs a little extra money, I want to be able to flip them a couple $100 and say, hey, you know, and you know when you loan money to friends, it's not a loan. You're giving it to them. You're not going to get it back. And so you want to have enough money that you can do that, help people out, and that's kind of my passion. That's what drives me every day to keep doing what I'm doing and really have some fun with it. And you know, we have something here at our fingertips. Everybody that's on this call, at least I'm assuming everybody on the call, if you're in Sisel, man, I'll tell you what. I've been doing this now, this chiropractic and this age reversal thing for almost 30 years, and I'll tell you what, there is not another company out there. There's not another nutrition company out there that has the products that we have. The potency, the power of what we have here, the variety of products that we have. I mean, oh my God, I mean, the TSX, you've heard me talk about that, you know. I go back to the 80s, I talk about, you know, when they cloned that sheep, Dolly the sheep, and how cloning didn't work, but you know, these scientists went back to the drawing board and they figured out the whole telomere thing, and I'm not going to get way into that, but you know, we can turn the clock backwards on our DNA, right? And you can actually wake up tomorrow morning being younger. And the other thing is that if you watch some of my posts on Facebook, you know, a new study just came out a couple weeks ago, and I posted on Facebook. They found that if you take enough resveratrol, you can reverse Alzheimer's. Well, isn't that one of the big worries of growing older? People say, well, you know, I don't really want to get older because I don't want to get that. Well, here you have something right at your fingertips. We have eternity. And folks, I'll tell you what, eternity is a powerful, powerful product. You want to be on that product. You want to be taking eternity because it's got, for every 1 ounce shot glass, it's got the equivalent of drinking something like 200, DW, am I right? 270 glasses of dark red wine.
Yeah, 274. No alcohol.
Yeah, 274 glasses of dark red wine in a 1 ounce shot glass. I mean, come on. Wow. They found that they could take. They found that they took people with Alzheimer's and they gave them the equivalent resveratrol as drinking 1,000 bottles of dark red wine, DW. That's what they gave them. And they saw the Alzheimer's reversing.
Wow.
Right? And you figure we've got the equivalent in a 1 ounce shot glass. We've got the equivalent of 270 glasses of red wine. So, I mean, how many glasses are in a bottle, DW? How many glasses of red wine are in a bottle?
You know, I'm not even sure. What would you say? You know, maybe 5?
5, yeah, or 8. 10, something like that. I don't know. Let's just say 10. I mean, I know there's not 10, but let's just say there's 10, right? So if you're getting the equivalent is 270 glasses in a 1-ounce shot, that's the equivalent of drinking 27 bottles of wine. Right?
That's powerful. That's powerful.
I'm a numbers guy. I like that. That's the equivalent of drinking 27 bottles, and they saw the Alzheimer's reversing after drinking 1,000. You're getting 27 in a 1-ounce shot glass, right? And there's what? Is there 30 doses in a bottle of Eternity, DW?
You know, I believe there is 30 doses, three-quarters of an ounce.
Yeah. So there's 30 doses and equivalent of 27 bottles of wine, you know. I mean, there you go. There you go, people.
Well, I mean, we broke this down a little bit. I mean, a couple of things, you know, talking with you earlier a little bit, some of the things that, you know, people have their formulas on what they think is going to get them there. I think one of the things you mentioned earlier, is huge. That's stress. And, you know, one of the number one reasons for divorce right now, if you want to subscribe to something so people don't go through a divorce, you would subscribe to them, you know, get rid of their financial stress. Well, let's say we get rid of financial stress, then having the money to live until you're 100 and wrapping that around and setting that as a goal. So just a thought-provoking question that you asked in the beginning, have you ever thought about living forever? Most people hadn't even thought about living to 65 or 75. Like you said, they look at those ages as old. And so a person needs to define what old is, and it's relative. And then you wrap your brains around how old you do want to live. You know, 107, 110, 100 plus. You know, and then putting yourself in a position, and I'm going to throw a couple things at you, and you just take off wherever you want to. But, you know, one of the things doctors are concerned with is brain health. How healthy a brain is. And, you know, we have, you know, in Compass 360, we have Eternity, we have Brain Vitality, and we have the Omega Plus that helps with brain health. Another thing is oxygen levels. With the new hydrogen diatomic water system, we have things that can help there. And, you know, then there's joint health and dealing with the joints and some of the joint pains that are going on there. And obviously the K2 and the Omega Plus and the Renovator. Then we've got inflammation, keeping inflammation down with some of those same things that you do with the joints. But there you throw in the whole triangle of life. And then you've got, you know, muscles that would tend to deteriorate. And then bone health with the calcium and the Omega Plus and the triangle. And so these are the things that we have right here. I mean, we have a plethora of products that can help people support their body, strengthen their bones, you know, protect their brain, you know, when you talk about heart health and those kind of things. So I kind of broke those out a little bit. You know, which area you want to jump into or what you want to do next. But isn't that kind of interesting how we can, when you go down and you look at someone and says, well, your oxygen level's low, or boom, you got heart challenges, or boom, you're going through these. We've got stuff to support, help them get through whatever challenges they're going through, and to give them that sustainability to when you're 100, you're still up and running. You're not creeping around and being wheeled around. You have the ability to wheel others around. So, Doc, back at you. Those are some thoughts that I had jotted down here, and I don't know what direction you wanted to go next, but you got me fired up.
You know what? You're exactly right, DW, and that's exactly how I look at it. I mean, you mentioned all the products. You go, and we got this for joints, we got this for hormones, we got that for brain health, we've got that for, you know, balancing out this and that. We've got the for coiling that. There's hundreds of studies saying, thousands of studies saying that reverses some of those stage 4 situations that people get into. You know, we can't say cure or treat because it's natural products, but oh my gosh, you know, you start thinking about it. I mean, you start listening to some of the testimonials. We can address almost every single thing, and the thing that I try and tell people, and for all of you folks that are on the phone right now, or those of you that are listening to this in a recording, think about this. Think about this. The best testimonials that you will ever hear on any of our Sisel products, the best testimonials are going to be the ones that you never hear. The guy that never got cancer. the lady that never got Alzheimer's, the person that never got this, never got that. That's the best testimonials, because as we're going out and talking to people, we're sharing with other people these stories of how we reversed that disease process, and the people who don't have it are going, oh my God, I don't want that. And they start taking the product and they don't get that. And there was a study, I just read it today, and they're doing a study, the National Institutes of Health, the NIH, they're spending $3.2 million studying a group of people they're calling the super agers. The super agers. And what that means is they're taking the people who are healthy after the age of like 65, 70, 80, 90. They're taking the people that are healthy and they're studying them, and they're trying to find out, why did you guys beat the odds and you're not sick? You know, why is my dad turning 78 here in 4 weeks and he's healthy? He's still doing stuff. He's got all of his, I mean, his gears are still clicking on all the cogs, right? And he's still healthy. My mom, you know, healthy as can be. And I tell people, I mean, that's what you want to be. You want to be included in that category of the super agers. But you know, the one thing that they're finding, DW, amongst when they survey the super agers, when they survey the centurions, the people who live to be over 100 years old, what do they have in common? And it's interesting. They're not all skinny. 30% of them are overweight. DW, you and I, we can make it to 100, right?
Well, and we are on the chubby side a little bit, I'm saying.
Yeah, but that's not the main thing, right? And they say, well, maybe it's because none of them smoke. No, 25% of the people who make it to 100, they smoke. And it's not that they're all vegetarians, and they're not all meat eaters, and they just couldn't put their finger on any particular thing, and it wasn't genetics. Genetics was only like 10% of the whole thing. But what they found is that the main factor with everything was the attitude, was the fact that all of these people who lived to be 100 years old, the main factor in it was that they all wanted to live to be 100 years old. And when you want to live to be 100 years old, what ends up happening is you start hanging around with other people who want to live to be 100 years old. You know, if they start calling me Mr., you know, Dr. Free Radical, Mr. Free Radical, you know, and they're making fun of that, chances are they're not one of the people, because they're not looking at it in a serious way. And staying active and thinking, keeping your brain going all the time. Those are the main factors, because those are the people then, like all of us on the call, you're going to start looking for products that are going to help you get there. And I just love it. I love hanging around with people like all of you. And I think, man, wouldn't it be fun when we're all 100? We can all sit back and we can be telling the stories of what we were doing today. November 3rd, DW? Is November 3rd?
It is the 3rd, and you know, I'm just about halfway there to my goal to be 100.
There you go. Right? There you go. Isn't that? I mean, and it's fun to start thinking about it, and you start finding other people who are like-minded, and then you start sharing stories, and all of a sudden now, not only are you doing a business together, but you're hanging out, and I mean, before, you know, 4 years ago, I didn't know who DW was. All of a sudden, here's a buddy of mine that, you know, 50 years from now, we're probably going to be hanging out. And
the possibilities are unlimited when you put yourself in a position to win. And you know how I feel. Do everything we can in the natural. You know, and there again, believe in God to do what He does in the supernatural, and that's part of it. And so some of the things we can do, you know, is give ourselves the proper nutrition. You know, it's just put ourselves in a position where you're doing the Ultra Max every single day, giving yourself the essential trace minerals. And that is huge to the body. I mean, it's impossible to sustain longevity of life without some of the basic essential things in your life, and having the essential trace minerals flowing through your body. And Tom gives us 74 of them in the Spectrum Max. You talk about being the free radical guy. There's 40 major antioxidants in our Ultramax. Yeah, just to help attack the free radicals. And then you add the diatomic hydrogen water proton generator to it. I mean, Doc, don't you feel like right now that we have come in? We got one more thing that Tom's getting ready to add very, very soon. Hopefully before the end of the year, is Sisel Immune, and just giving everybody that extra boost in their immune system. There's so many people's immune system that's gotten compromised because water's not getting any better, the air's not getting any better necessarily, and we've got things that are just going to help build the immune system up and stop it from breaking down so fast. So don't you think we have a full spectrum of products that can sustain the joints? You mentioned hormones, which I thought was kind of interesting because that wasn't on my list that I wrote down. I didn't have hormones on there. And I do the energy for him and the Ultramax, which is the most phenomenal product that is probably talked about the least. It gives you sustained energy for 7 hours. It wakes up the brain. It does an niacin flush, which is one of the best detoxes out there. It has ingredients in it and components that help with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue and some of the things that just wear the body down. And if you're irritated, it brings you down. If you're depressed and discouraged, it lifts you up. It puts you in that balance zone. And so that's a product that can help sustain somebody. So you got Siseline that helps build the muscles and helps feed the blood. It's food for the blood. I mean, it's just crazy what's in Siseline when it comes to the protein and the fiber and what we have there. So I get excited about some of these products that we've talked about in the past. Then you got TSX that awakens and causes the telomeres to come alive and start thriving and thrusting more cells in your body than your body can burn. Right now, once you hit 50, you're burning more cells than you're making, and that can be reversed. And it keeps the liver and the kidneys and everything supple and fresh and vibrant. And so it just gets me fired up to know what we have our hands on. And those individuals that are listening to this call for the first time, Dr. Fitz and I are just kind of having a little bit of a conversation here on you're in the right place. You're at the right time. We can help you with the financial stress and give you sustainability. Our company's set up in a dynasty trust to where it's not going to be compromised, threatened, barred against, leased, loaned out. It goes on. Tom Sr.'s a scientist. Tom Jr.'s a science guy. Tom the Third is a science guy, the grandson. And so it's just exciting. And then you've got, other family members coming on and around. So this thing can be carried on. If you think about it, those guys will be doing that. If Tom the Third has kids and they're doing it, there you got a company that's going to sustain it. There's a lot of companies out there that are 100 years old. And so, I believe that our products will be here 100 years from now, and I believe that so will our company as well. So that is some of the things I'm saying and making some sense to you.
Oh man, you start listening to what DW is saying there for everybody that's on the call. I mean, think about that. I mean, we've got the products, we've got a company that's going to be around, and we haven't even touched on the skincare stuff. Man, I tell you what, DW. I mean, that's the beauty of this whole thing, is that when we're 100, we don't have to look like we're 100. I mean, people are going to be coming up to those of you that are using the products, and 40, 50 years from now, they're going to say, "Man, you don't look a day past 65, right? You don't look like you're 100 years old." And I mean, I know people who are 100 that look like they're 150. I mean, I want to look like I'm 60 when I'm 100. And we've got. Yeah, we've got that, DW. And everybody asks me about the water system. I mean, the diatomic water. I mean, there's so much science on it. We can sit here And you know, we listened to Tyler last week from the Molecular Hydrogen Institute, and he just blew everybody away with the science. And I had so many people call me up, and they said, Kurt, how do you explain it in terms that people understand? And I kind of put it through my head really quick, and this is what I always did in my practice. I mean, think about this. Here's a really easy way. All right. So if I say, hey, do you know what a free radical is? And most people are going to say yes or no, but let's just say they tell you no, and you say, well, you know what gasoline is, right? And if you spill some gasoline next time you go to the self-serve pump, you spill gasoline on your hand, it takes 26 seconds, and you can measure it in your urine. Well, as that gasoline is passing in your body, it's touching healthy cells, and what it's doing is damaging them. The damaged cell is called a free radical. Okay? And so people understand that. They know gasoline's not safe to put on your body. Even though back when we were kids, you know, I'd paint a fence and Dad would wash the paint off my hands with gasoline. You know, we didn't know how bad it was then. But, you know, and so then we ask them, well, do you know what an antioxidant is? And a lot of people will say yes or no, and I just say, well, you know, antioxidants destroy free radicals. You don't have to get into a lot of science. You just say antioxidants destroy free radicals. And then you go, vitamin C is an antioxidant, right? And so people understand that. You talk in terms of things that people know. You're saying gasoline, you're saying vitamin C. And then you get them nodding their head with you, and then you simply say, okay, so what if we can take our water and we can make it 176 times more powerful than vitamin C? That's what we got. That's how you explain the water machine. You notice how you don't have to get into a lot of real science with that. And if people want more, you send them information. You don't have to memorize it. Just memorize the whole idea that gasoline is bad on your hands. It's bad in you. Vitamin C is good, and we've got something 176 times stronger than vitamin C. Boom. Done.
That one more time about the hydrogen water is how many more times?
176 times more powerful than vitamin C. Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
863 times stronger than CoQ10. I mean, you just don't have to be a scientist to work with this stuff. It's that easy. And I'm telling you, folks, I mean, we have the best company. I've been a doctor for almost 30 years, and I've looked at a lot of companies. I've done a lot of tours of a lot of manufacturing plants. Sisel wasn't the first plant I ever went through. And I've used a lot of products, a lot of good products. And there's nothing out there that's as good as what we have here. Nothing. Bar none. We have the best. Isn't that cool?
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Well, Dr. Physic, we've run out of time here. We're at a few minutes over. But just what an interesting topic. And, you know, when you talk to somebody and you're spending some time with someone on the phone and you ask them that question, have you ever thought about it? And then you ask them the next question, well, and they probably say no. They say, well, if you did think about it, what are the components it would take to live that? And most of the things that someone would need in order to survive or to get to that age, we have right here. We are set up and ready to give that support and give someone more than a fighting chance, a realistic chance to run to whatever they want to run to. And so that's kind of exciting. Now we know, you know, we don't know where we're coming on this planet. We don't know where we're going to be taken off as far as that goes. But we can do everything we can within our power to put ourselves in a position when it comes to financially and when it comes to health-wise to get us there. And that's all that you can ask for. Dr. Kurt, we appreciate you being on the call tonight. Any last words you want to say to the doctor's audience?
Hey, I just want to say what Spock used to say on Star Trek: live long and prosper.
I love it. And that's exactly what we're going to do. All right, everybody, this is DW, and on behalf of the Doctor's Clinic, we just appreciate you being on here. Double hugs to everyone. It is absolutely a great time of the year, and we will talk to you soon and go out and touch someone with the opportunity of asking them how long they ever thought about living, and we put them in a position to where they can make a run at it. Over and out.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, everybody. God bless.